Where did all the Goth girls go? The Hex Girls, Rogue, Gaz, Mandy, Shego, Ingrid III, Raven, Blackfire, Jinx, Sam Manson, Ember McLean, Nikki Wong, Glenn, Marceline. Almost every single one of these characters debuted within an 8-year window between 1999 and 2007 on 5 different networks for 5 different audiences: Nick, Disney, Cartoon Network, Kids WB, and Teletoon, whatever the hell that is. They were heroes, villains, sidekicks, reality show contestants, witches, mutants, demonologists, and one girl who blackmailed Death himself. And then the last fresh one debuted in July 2007, and mainstream animation went almost 3 full years without introducing another major goth-coded female lead, until April 5th, 2010, when a half-demon, 1,000-year-old apocalypse survivor named Marceline the Vampire Queen showed up in Adventure Time and instantly became one of the most beloved animated characters ever made. And then mainstream animation, they just gave up. Like, well, we did it, can't top that one, see ya. So now today, you cannot name a single new mainstream cartoon debuting a character like any of them, except for maybe Luna from Hell of a Boss, but she's more furry than anything, so I don't really think that counts. We do love Luna though, give it up for Luna in the comments. Now, this is not because the audience went anywhere. They're literally everywhere that isn't animated cartoons. So what happened? Why did they vanish from this medium? Most of these YouTube videos walking you through the goth girl cartoon thing will hand you the same 3 names: Raven, Sam, Mandy, done. Roll credits. I'm not making that video because once you actually start counting, the canon is comically bigger than that. Let's get into this. Now we have to start here in 1999 with the Hex Girls, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost on October 5th of 1999. Direct-to-video and Warner Brothers brought them back 4 years later for Legend of the Vampire in 2003 because the audience response was just that strong. Self-described eco-goths, which I think is the most adorably 2000 subculture descriptor anyone has ever invented in human history, and Thorn, the lead Hex Girl, when asked about her witch credentials in the film, answers, and I am quoting directly here,
"Kinda like Wiccans. Just ask Thorn, she is one."
Yeah, right. Sally McKnight, 1/16 blood on my mother's side.
Only 1/16. I'm sorry, 1/16 Wiccan. That is the lore. That is the depth they were writing into this Scooby-Doo direct-to-video sideband. But here's the part that actually breaks me. Thorn was voiced by Jennifer Hale. Yes, the Jennifer Hale, Commander Femshep from Mass Effect, was voicing the lead Hex Girl. Cool, we can handle that. And then Dusk was voiced by Jane Weedland. Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's, an actual hit-charting rock musician, was voicing a member of an animated children's cartoon band. The Hex Girls had more real-world musical chops than half the bands the show was supposed to be parodying. Then 2000 happens. Rogue, X-Men Evolution, Kids WB, voiced by Megan Black, and of all 14 characters on this list, she's the heaviest one to write up. A Mississippi runaway whose mutation absorbs life and memory through skin contact, which means physical intimacy, a kiss, a hug, any contact at all is literally dangerous to anyone who tries it with her. The show used her as the franchise's whole avatar for teen alienation and untouchability. That is heavy material for a Kids WB Saturday morning cartoon, but what else is new for X-Men? And Rogue starts the series with the Brotherhood after Mystique manipulates her into joining, then defects to the X-Men in season 1, episode 7, which is the first villain to fan favorite move you are going to hear about on this list. There are more. I am keeping count. Then we have Gaz, Invader Zim Nickelodeon 2001, voiced by Melissa Fawn. She is pathologically devoted to her game slave, contemptuous of her brother Dib's alien hunting nonsense, and across the entire series, it is implied that she might possibly be the single most dangerous human being in the entire show. And despite never actually trying, Jonan Vasquez wrote her as the actual quiet threat of the show. And the joke is, the show's about an alien attempting to invade Earth, and Gaz is somehow scarier than the alien. Same year, different network, Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy on Cartoon Network debuted as segments inside the Grim and Evil show back in 2001. Then it got its own standalone series in 2003 which ran all the way to 2007. Voiced by Gray Delisle, and if you've been following the channel, you know I did a whole cancellation video for this show a little while back, so I'm not gonna relitigate here. Go back and watch that video if you want to learn more about Billy and Mandy, but the woman blackmailed the Grim Reaper into eternal servitude in episode 1 and never broke character. The proto-goth deadpan misanthrope in a 6 to 8 year old's body, and yes, to answer what you're already asking yourself, I did just learn the word misanthrope specifically from researching this video. Thank you for being here. I'm probably gonna use it more than once. Then you have 2002, Shego, Kim Possible, Disney Channel, voiced by Nicole Sullivan, the smartest person in any room she walks into. She's introduced as Dr. Draken's nameless henchwoman in the pilot, and fan response was so strong that Disney promoted her to reoccurring co-lead villain over the course of the series. She has plasma energy powers from a childhood rainbow comet strike, by the way. The lore on this woman is canonically goofy, and we love it. Villain promotion number 2. Then you have the same year, different network yet again, Ingrid Third from Fillmore. ABC Saturday morning cartoons voiced by Tara Strong. And take note of that name, we are gonna come back to it. Ingrid has a photographic memory and she's an ex-delinquent. Her actual backstory in the show is that the Nepal stink bomb pinata incident got her sent to reform school. That's a real sentence I just said. And the show itself was basically a kid show version of 70s cop dramas. Beverly Hills Cop, 21 Jump Street, in a Saturday morning cartoon slot. That is what they were doing in 2002. Then you have 2003, and this is the Avalanche, Raven, Teen Titans, Cartoon Network, and Kids WB, voiced by, yet again, Tara Strong. Yes, the same Tara Strong who just voiced Ingrid. Hold that thought. Again, we are coming back to it. You have Raven, the daughter of the demon Trigun, who has to suppress her emotions via meditation because feelings equals losing control, which equals the literal apocalypse. Her season 4 arc is about defying a predestined evil bloodline. Real sh**. And here's the thing, Tara Strong's portrayal of Raven was so good, it shaped how the character was portrayed across DC media going forward. The cartoon influenced everything that came after it. George Perez, one of the comics' co-creator, has personally praised Strong's performance. That kind of cartoon influencing source material flow basically never happens. Then you have the same year, same show, same day, Jinx, Teen Titans episode Final Exam on July 19th of 2003, voiced by Lauren Tom, Hive Academy's top student. Bad luck and probability hex powers tied to a nihilist self-image. And here is the move nobody talks about. In season 5, Jinx is the only Hive student in the entire series who reforms. A clean heel face turn after Kid Flash convinces her she's actually a hero and not a villain. Villain promotion number 3. Then again, same year, same show, 1 week later, Blackfire is introduced. Teen Titans episode Sisters on July 26, 2003. Voiced by Hynden Walsh, who also voices Starfire. Same actress, both sisters. Pomander from the Wolfman and Perez comics. In the comics, she is the evil older sister, the Yzma to Starfire's Cusco. Glorious. Another villain side standout, not technically a fan promoted one, she was always meant to be canon, but absolutely beloved and absolutely deserves to be in this list. Then we go a little bit forward to 2004 and Sam Manson is introduced. Danny Phantom, Nickelodeon, voiced by Gray Delisle. A vegan, or technically an ultra recyclo vegetarian, which is what the show actually calls her, by the way, environmentalist outsider from a rich family who openly rejects her own money. And get ready for this, Sam is the only character on this entire list who explicitly self-identifies as goth on screen. Direct setup and payoff from the show. Let's do this.
I want that back by Monday. Mine is the goth sweat.
We don't sweat, we simmer!
We don't sweat, we simmer. You do not get that line out of a 2020s cartoon writer's room. That line gets you fired in a 2020s cartoon writer's room. Same year, same show, Ember McLean, Danny Phantom, reoccurring villain, voiced by, yet again, Tara Strong, that's the speaking voice. Robin Kermsey did the singing. Credit where it's due. That is 3 of these characters now voiced by the same actress. Ingrid Third, Raven, Ember. I'm gonna stop interrupting myself, but please log this. Ember's backstory is laid out in the lyrics of her actual song, you will remember. An unpopular teenage girl who felt forgotten. She died shortly after, and the fire imagery is implied by her name and her aesthetic. Her whole "you'll only remember me through fame," the power is thematically airtight, and she was originally introduced as a one-off in Fanning the Flames in season 1. However, she was popular enough that she came back as a reoccurring villain. Villain promotion number 4, baby. Then we have the same year, different country actually, Nikki Wong, 16, Teletoon Cartoon Network Nicktoons. Figured out where Teletoon's from. I see you, Canadians. She's voiced by Stacey DePass, and here is where I have to pull a hard left on you. Nikki is not goth. Nikki is the broader alt girl, cynical, anti-consumerist, stuck working her uniformed retail job at the conformity-themed chain store, the Khaki Barn. And the fact that she exists at all is the point, because the goth girl archetype was so dominant in this era that you even had the less strictly goth alt girl variants getting their own arcs, which we still don't really see today. The canon had room for variation. That is how culturally entrenched this archetype was in 2000s animation. Same creator as Total Drama Island, by the way. Tom McGillis and Jennifer Pertz, same playbook 3 years before they made Gwen. And 2007 is the last one in this strict window we've been talking about. Gwen from Total Drama Island. Again, Teletoon in Canada, premiered July 8th, 2007, Cartoon Network in the US a year later in June 2008. She was voiced by Megan Fallenbach, art school loner, single mom household, the rare contestant on a reality show parody who just refused to backstab. And fun trivia, by the way, Gwen won the original Canadian cut of the season. The US version was re-edited, so Owen won instead. What the f? Also, I guess that answers that. Teletoon is clearly a Canadian thing, I guess. Now we know. Then 2010 rolls around. Marceline the Vampire Queen, Adventure Time Cartoon Network, voiced by Olivia Olson. 1,000-year-old half-demon survivor of an apocalyptic war. Her songs in the actual show are actually diary entries. And these entries are about being abandoned by her dad, about watching the man who basically raised her, Simon Petrikov, lose himself to dementia. That is the kind of writing a kid's cartoon was doing right at the very end of this era, and here is the punchline. Olivia Olson also voiced Vanessa Doofenshmirtz, I really hope I said that right, on Phineas and Ferb, debuted on Disney Channel in 2008. Just about the one other goth-coded girl to show up in mainstream animation between Gwen's debut in July 2007 and Marceline's in April 2010. Same actress, 2 networks, 3 years. Olivia Olson was personally carrying half of the dying archetype across 2 channels by herself. That's 14 characters, and I left at least 10 more on the cutting room floor. Kylie Griffin from Extreme Ghostbusters, The Tricks from Winx Club, Wuya from Shaolin Showdown. I could keep going. I am not exaggerating. I could fill the rest of the video right here. And you noticed me calling out Tara Strong 3 times in there. Ingrid the Third, Raven, Ember McLean, 3 characters, 3 shows, 3 networks. Same actress. One woman was supplying a huge chunk of the entire 2000s goth girl voice catalog by herself. Tara Strong gets credit in the comments. That's in order. And then starting in 2006, the show started going off the air seemingly all at the same time. By the time Marceline debuted in 2010, the rest of this canon was already gone. She was the last one in, and after her, essentially nothing for 15 years. So what happened between 2006 and 2010? Well, a few things happened at once. The first one, the networks changed hands. Nickelodeon's president, Herb Scannell, stepped down in 2006. Saima Zargami replaced him. Cartoon Network's Jim Samples, well, he resigned in February of 2007. And if you were online in early 2007, you probably remember the Aqua Teen Hunger Force-led ad campaign in Boston that everyone mistook for actual bombs.
Dozens of electronic devices placed all around the city to promote the Cartoon Network show Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but they were mistaken to be bombs.
That was Cartoon Network's fault. Samples took the fall. Stuart Snyder replaced him a few months later. Now, if that Cartoon Network leadership shift sounds familiar, it's because I covered it in the Billy and Mandy cancellation video. I'm not going to relitigate the Snyder era here. Watch that video if you want. The relevant things for this video is that the same window between 2006 to 2007 was simultaneously cleaning house at Nickelodeon, and the Goth Girl shows got caught in the crossfire on both networks at the same kind. The cancellations cluster like nothing else in modern animation history. Invader Zim canceled January 2002. X-Men Evolution canceled October 2003. Fillmore canceled 2004. Teen Titans canceled 2006. Danny Phantom canceled August 2007. Kim Possible ended on September 2007. It's actually the one show on this list that ended on its creator's terms after a fan-driven revival. Credit where credit's due. But then you have Billy and Mandy, which also was canceled November 2007. Two of the creators behind these shows have gone on record about what happened to them, both worth pulling. The first one is Butch Hartman, creator of Danny Phantom. And real quick, before we go further, we should acknowledge the elephant in the room. Yes, Butch Hartman has been the subject of some genuinely shady looking situations over the years. The O-Axis Kickstarter controversy, tracing allegations, it was just worth noting up front. We're not gonna relitigate any of it here. I'm not making a Butch Hartman rant video. I just wanted to address that I am aware of all the controversy that surrounds him. The thing is though, none of that changes the fact that the man made two of the most beloved cartoons of the entire 2000s decade. And Danny Phantom specifically got caught in the crossfire of a regime change at Nickelodeon that seemingly had nothing to do with the quality of the show. So here's Hartman's version of events. He's talked about the cancellation on his own YouTube channel, and Collider covered it in a retrospective. When Herb Skinnell stepped down at Nickelodeon, the new Saima Zargami regime came in, undid predecessor decisions, and decided to put their entire merchandising muscle behind Avatar: The Last Airbender instead. Now, Nickelodeon never issued a public reason for the Danny Phantom cancellation. Hartman says he got around 20,000 emails from fans. A small group protested outside of Nick's NYC offices, and none of it mattered. The second quote is more direct. Robert Skur, the co-creator and story editor on X-Men Evolution, who was talking to Slash Film, this is direct verbatim, 2 sentences from him stitched together. Quote, "So many shows were changing back then because Nickelodeon was so strong and getting so much of an audience. If you look at the kind of shows they replaced X-Men with, you get a sense that it was time for the network to move on to a different kind of show." Now, move on to a different kind of show. That is an on-the-record line from a creator in this era explaining what the networks were doing. One sentence and what they moved on to. That's the next segment. So who replaced them? Now, here's the part most YouTube videos won't bother to connect for you. That's So Raven in 2003, Hannah Montana in 2006, iCarly in September of 2007, Wizards of Waverly Place, October 2007. Look at those debut dates next to the cancellation dates from the last segment. iCarly literally debuted the same month Kim Possible's finale aired. Wizards of Waverly Place debuted the month after Danny Phantom signed off. That's not a coincidence. The networks literally swapped out the roster of female leads in real time. Out went the Goth girl, in came what I am going to call the Disney Channel marketable female lead. The aspirational, brightly lit, plot of her own, merch-friendly tween star. And look at the format shift here. iCarly, Wizards, Hannah Montana, That's So Raven, all 4 of those shows are live action. The networks weren't just swapping female lead to female lead, they were swapping animation to live action. Even Cartoon Network attempted to run the same play a couple years later with the Cartoon Network Reel Block in 2009. An entire reality and live action programming push that ran straight into a wall before they backed out of it. But the pattern here is the same. The animated leads got nudged out for cheaper, easier to merchandise live action humans. And look, this wasn't a creative call. This was a business call. The Hannah Montana franchise was reported to have crossed roughly $1 billion in retail merchandise by 2008. That's according to trade press at the time. That's the math from the network side. The new template was easier to sell t-shirts for. The Goth girls gave you, what exactly? A Hex Girls poster, maybe? It's not like the networks were recreating the Hex Girls clothes and selling the line at Hot Topic, which honestly, looking back, is a huge missed opportunity. And Disney leaned all the way in. They built an entire shared universe, same girls crossing over with each other. That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana in 2006, which I didn't know existed before researching this. Wish Gone Amiss in 2007. Wizards on Deck with Hannah Montana in 2009. 9.3 million viewers. The top show on TV that night. The new template was so successful, Disney cross-pollinated it with itself. The Goth girl, by the math the networks were doing, had been replaced. And the crazy thing is when they do show up now, they're sanitized. But hold on, because if you've been paying attention, you're already saying, what about Wednesday Addams? What about Beetlejuice? What about Mavis from Hotel Transylvania? And I hear you, the archetype isn't fully extinct. It does come back, it just shows up with the substance scrubbed off it. And worth flagging up front, 2 of those 3, are live action. Wednesday and Beetlejuice are not animation. Mavis is the only animated example, and even her, she's Dracula's daughter. So the Goth vibe is more of circumstance than a character choice. She's not really cut from the same cloth as a Sam Manson or a Hex Girls. Let's start with the biggest one. Wednesday, Netflix, November 2022. Jenna Ortega. The show broke Netflix records in its first week. 341 million hours viewed. #1 in 83 countries on launch. Season 2 in 2005, then broke the record for most countries reached by an English language series in a single week. 91 countries. So the audience demand was undeniable, and the show put Wednesday Addams in a love triangle. Tyler Galpin, Xavier Thorpe. Wednesday floats between both of them before shutting them both down. Wednesday Addams, the character, the Charles Addams Family cartoon, debuted in the New Yorker in 1938. Wednesday specifically showed up a few years after that, so depending on how you count, 80 plus years of this character being defined by not being interested in romance. And the show wrote her a love triangle. And look, I love Wednesday. I actually really like it. It's a fantastic show. I cannot wait for season 3, but I'd be lying to you if I pretended things haven't changed a bit with that character. And here's where I want to play you a quote, because this is the actress talking. Jenna Ortega on Canadian E-Talk, and then again on Jimmy Fallon, said this, quote, "I don't think Wednesday would ever be in a love triangle. And I talked to the writers about this, and they said, don't worry. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that." The actress told the writers the character wouldn't be in a love triangle. The writers told her, don't worry, it's not going to be that. They put one in anyway. And then the actress had to go out and basically apologize for the romance arc in interviews after the fact. For season 2, the showrunners Alfred Goth and Miles Miller walked the romance back publicly, told the Hollywood Reporter and Collider that season 2 would lean harder into horror. They knew they got it wrong the first time, and Wednesday is the good example. This is the one where the audience yelled loud enough that the show course corrected. Now let's look at the actual bad ones. The animated Addams Family movie in 2019. Rotten Tomato critics' consensus on the film is this: the Addams Family starry voice cast and eye-catching animations aren't enough to outweigh its saccharine handling of the delightfully dark source material. That's not me editorializing, that is the literal critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, the institution that aggregates critic reception across the industry. They had to coin a word for what this movie did to the source material, and the word they coined was saccharine. I don't even know what saccharine means. Then you have Beetlejuice, September of 2024, Tim Burton's own sequel to his own movie. Winona Ryder came back reprising her role as Lydia Dietz 36 years later. And she came back as a character who has sold out. She's a medium now with a ghost hunting TV show. The Lydia Dietz, who in the 1988 movie had to be coerced into a forced wedding she didn't want, in 2024, sells her gift on cable TV in a paranormal talk show called Ghost House with Lydia Dietz. They turned her into a Long Island medium parody. Then you have Mavis Dracula from Hotel Transylvania, 2012 through 2022. Started out as a rebellious teen vampire who wanted to escape her father's hotel. By movie 2, married. By movie 3, parenting. By movie 4, she's the woman caught between two men she loves, her dad and her husband. They aged the character down from rebellious goth teen to wholesome family values mom over the course of 4 movies. And then Sony just stopped making them. That's the pattern. When the goth girl shows up in current media, she gets a romance plot, or a she chooses color arc, or a sellout job, or a mommy storyline. The substance gets scrubbed. The aesthetic gets kept because the aesthetic is marketable. The substance asks you to think about something. Hollywood pulled the goth girl. The audience did not. And let me prove that to you in 5 data points. 1, Pinterest. The literal Pinterest, the platform that knows what every teenager and 20-something on Earth is currently planning to buy. Their own Pinterest predicts 2024 trend report. They named, quote, Western Gothic, end quote, one of the headline trends for the year. And quote, dark siren makeup searches were up. I'm not making that number up. 695% year over year. And on TikTok, the hashtag goth has cleared billions, with a B, billions of views. That's the platform doing the reporting, not me. Then you have Hot Topic, the cultural store every goth-coded teenager in 2002 was begging their parents to take them to, while being relentlessly mocked by all of their peers for it, by the way, because at that point in time, Hot Topic was not yet a cool and trendy place to shop. It was the embarrassing weirdo store at the mall, and goddamn did they overcome that. Still operating in 2026, which is crazy in and of itself. Online sales alone clearing $650 million in 2025. Over 800 retail locations across the country, not closing, not dying, thriving on selling the aesthetic to the same kids who grew up on Sam Manson and a lot of Funko Pop and Glitch Productions merchandise these days. But hey, they still sell band shirts, I guess. Then you have Wave Gothic Treffen, the longest running goth festival in the world, Leipzig, Germany, going since 1992, still drawing around 20,000 attendees a year in 2024 and 2025. Not declining, not dying. Then you have Wednesday Addams. When the Netflix show landed, the Wednesday costume was reported as one of the top trending costumes at Spirit Halloween nationally for the 2023 Halloween season. Wednesday costumes flooded the Amazon bestsellers list, and the whole of Halloween 2023 hit a record $12.2 billion in retail spending nationwide, up by almost $2 billion over 2022. The Wednesday Addams costume was a measurable driver of that growth. And 5, you have Billa Hadid, one of the most photographed models of the 2020s. And in 2024, she set the entire fashion calendar with 2 dark-coded aesthetics back to back. Office Siren in the spring, Bayonetta glasses in the fall. Vogue Italia cover April 2024. Look, the supermodels are the ones Hollywood's marketing departments build campaigns around. When they go dark, the industry is being told dark is selling. And I'll briefly acknowledge the obvious one we're not going to name on the channel. A real chunk of the entire fan funding economy in the 2020s has been built on the alt-coded aesthetic. The numbers are out there if you want to find them. The trend is real. Moving on, we don't want this video to get destroyed by the YouTube gods. So the data is loud and consistent. The audience for this archetype didn't shrink. It got bigger and richer and spent more money on it. And meanwhile, the industry that built this archetype in the first place refuses to make new characters like this. Make it make sense, Hollywood. And the crazy thing is, it's not even just Hollywood. What indie animation studio has Goth Girls? Because if they exist, I would like to know about it. Drop them in the comments, genuinely. I make videos about indie animation on this channel. Even I can't think of a current example. 20 years of data. The audience is right there. Hot Topic, right there. Pinterest, right there. Wednesday's viewership numbers are right there. And we have got Marceline, who's from a show that already ended. So does she even count anymore? We got TV host Lydia, and we got a love triangle for Wednesday Addams. Make it make sense. Now, here's what I keep coming back to. These characters mattered to so many of us growing up because they were allowed to be specific. Sam Manson wasn't a girl who wore black. She was a vegan environmentalist outsider from a rich family who openly rejected her own money. Raven wasn't a girl who wore a cloak. She was a half demon suppressing apocalyptic emotion to keep the world from ending. Marceline wasn't a vampire with cool hair. She was a 1,000-year-old survivor of an apocalyptic war who watches her surrogate father lose himself to dementia. They had brains, opinions, edges, the kind of stuff that actually resonated with people. The new ones are wearing the look without the substance, and the audience that grew up on Sam Manson and Raven and Shego and Marceline, they didn't disappear. We got older. We got Patreon and TikTok and Pinterest and a much bigger megaphone than we had in 2003. And the industry that pulled the archetype is the one that's missing out because the demand was always there and it still is. I make these videos because I love this stuff, and it makes me genuinely sad that we spent 8 years building one of the most beloved character archetypes of an entire generation of TV, and then for 15 years after that, the industry just gave up and just stopped trying. Matthew Allen Schmidt at Pelleplat asked the question last year, is this archetype still as prevalent as it was? Or did the new one take over? Neither. Hollywood dropped the archetype on the floor, swept it in the garbage, set it on fire, and then got rid of it. And the audience picked it up and ran with it without them. So, like the video, hit subscribe if you want to see more rants like this, and let me know in the comments your favorite character that fits the vibe I talked about today. And if you know of any shows, animated or otherwise, bringing this archetype back in the year 2026 and beyond, please be vocal about it down there. The algorithm reads everything. Make some noise. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.